Now, let's put what you've learned into practice by creating a Monday motivational quote email application. To get warmed up, we're going to create an application that looks at the current date and time, and if it happens to be a particular day of the week, let's say a Tuesday, then we're going to email ourselves a motivational quote. So I found 101 Monday motivational quotes from a place called the Positivity blog, and I'll link to this as well. But the idea is that we all need a little bit of a boost on Monday mornings, and getting an email from Albert Einstein might just be the little nudge that we need in order to push us onto a successful week. So that's the idea. And if you take a look in the starting project that you've already downloaded and opened up, there should be a quotes.txt file. And here on each line, I've placed the quote from the Positivity blog, and it's got the quote and person on the same line. So you can use what you've learned before, where we went into how to read files, how to open files, how to create a list of all of the lines inside a particular text file. And you can use that along with what you've learned about sending emails to check and make sure that the day of the week is your current day of the week, because obviously you need to test this. Instead of setting it to check for Monday, I want you to check for the current day that you're on. So if it happens to be Tuesday, then check for Tuesday. If it's Saturday, then check for Saturday. And I want your Python code to make that check. And if it matches today's weekday, then to send an email with a random quote from the quotes.txt. That's the goal. So I want you to pause the video and give that a go. All right, so in order to complete this mini project, we first have to import those two modules we learned about, smtplib and also the date time module. And again, I'm going to import it as DT, so give it an alias. Next, we're going to tap into the DT module and we're going to get today's date and time. So we're going to use this now method. If now is equal to this, then today in terms of the weekday is equal to now.weekday. And once we've gotten hold of that, then we can check, well, if the weekday is equal to, say, Monday, which would be 0, then that means we're going to activate the rest of our code and send ourselves the email. But of course, in order to test our code, unless you have the patience to wait until next Monday and test your code once every week, then we probably want to set this to equal to the weekday that we're on today. So in my case, I'm on Tuesday, so I'm going to set that to equal to 1, at least while I'm testing my code. And once I'm done with everything, I can reset that to 0 for Monday. If the weekday is equal to 1, then we're going to initiate our email sending mission. But first, we have to figure out what we're going to send. So we're going to open up our quotes.txt, and I'm going to use the with, and then I'm going to use the open method to open the quotes.txt file that I've got right here, and I'm going to call this the quote file. Inside this quote file, I've got a bunch of quotes, one on each line. So we can use the method called readLines in order to get a list of all of the lines in this quote file. And I'm going to save it into all quotes. Now we can import the random module and we can tap into a random quote. So we'll use random.choice and we'll get a random quote from this list of quotes. Now that we've created our quote inside this with block, we can actually go outside of the with block and we can still access our quote. So if I go ahead and print our quote, you can see we've picked out a random quote. If you want to make an easy job seem mighty hard, just keep putting off doing it, by Olin Miller. And this is what we're going to try and send to ourselves using the SMTP lib. Again, inside the same if statement, we're going to create a new connection, which is created from the SMTP lib and the SMTP class. Now, once we create this class, we have to provide a host. So that's the URL of the email server that we're going to use. Again, I'm going to use my email as my testing Gmail. That was appbreweryinfo@gmail.com. And then I'm going to put in my password as well as a constant. So this was ABCD1234 and then brackets. And then we can add our SMTP URL. Because we know that we're sending it from the Gmail email service, then I'm going to tap into the Gmail SMTP server. So that's smtp.gmail.com. And instead of saving this as a connection, I'm going to use the with method, with SMTP as the connection. Then using this connection, I'm going to firstly secure it. So I'm going to start TLS, and then I'm going to get this connection to log me in. So the username is my email and the password is my password. Once I've logged in to this connection, then I'm going to finally send my email. Now, in this case, the from address is going to be my email, and the to address is also my email. I'm just sending an email from myself to myself, but it's going to have a different piece of content every time it sends it. And that message is going to contain that content. So I'm going to change this into an F string because firstly, I want to have a subject, which I'll call Monday Motivation. And then we know that we can add the content by adding 2 line breaks. So let's format this so that it's easier for you to see. And I'm going to put it onto separate lines like this. Now, after these 2 new lines comes my content, which is basically going to be my F string that's going to insert my quote right here. So now with all of that done and making sure that our weekday is set as the same day as today. So weekday equals 1, that is Tuesday. Weekday is 0, means it's Monday. Then we can be sort of sure that this code is actually going to run. So now if we run our code, you can see the quote being printed out here by Bertrand Russell. And if we go to our email, you can see that email from ourselves. Monday motivation. One of the symptoms of an approaching nervous breakdown is the belief that one's work is terribly important. So I guess today's motivation is to not take ourselves too seriously. But this is essentially what we're looking to achieve. So hopefully you managed to get that working. If not, you can take a look at my finished code, including all of the previous sections on SMTP lib, sending email, as well as date time in the day 32 ending code that you'll find on the course resources page. Now we're pretty much ready to tackle our final project, which is the automated birthday wisher. So for that and more, I'll see you on the next lesson.